What does it mean to call yourself a naturalist? Well, I think a naturalist is someone who sees things others don't and then points these things out to the rest of us. In a way, a naturalist is an interpreter of nature. By that definition, one could describe Niko Tinbergen, or Niko as he was known by everyone, as one of the most important translators of the animal world to have ever lived. The man who would come to be seen as a father of the modern study of animal behavior was born in 1907 in The Hague, on the coast of the Netherlands. A picturesque and beautiful city at the center of a modernizing Netherlands, Niko grew up in a changing Dutch culture with thinkers, writers, and artists inspired by the influences of Germany, France, and England. The Dutch themselves, though, had little impact abroad. A few scientists from the Netherlands maintained respected positions in their fields, including Hugo de Vries, who was one of the principal founders of genetics, and the physicist Hendrik Antoon Lorentz, who contributed greatly to Einstein's theories of relativity. Niko was one of 5 children to Dirk Cornelius Tinbergen and his wife Jeannette van Eyck. His older brother Jan Tinbergen won a Nobel Prize in economics in 1969. And his younger brother, Luc Tinbergen, was also a noted biologist who combined Niko's love of animal behavior with Jan's love of math to become one of the first truly quantitative behavioral ecologists. From an early age, Tinbergen was captivated by the wonders of nature, a passion that propelled him into the study of biology at Leiden University. Niko did not consider himself a great student, saying, quote, "I was not much interested in school, and both at secondary school and at university I only just scraped through, with as little effort as I judged possible, without failing." But his academic journey took a harrowing turn during World War II, when he was taken as a POW by the Nazis. The ordeal left a lasting mark on him that would later affect his relationship with fellow behaviorist Austrian Konrad Lorenz. After the war, Niko returned to Leiden and taught until 1949. Here he began in earnest his studies of behavior. Setting up a laboratory to study the reproductive behavior of stickleback fish, he carefully designed elegant experiments to determine what elicited various courtship responses in males and females. He also became interested in the drivers of male-male combat for access to females. He observed that courting male sticklebacks developed a striking red underside and fiercely defended their territory, attacking any intruder with that same coloration. In fact, the color red itself seemed to be a powerful trigger for their aggression. So much so that the fish would even lash out at the glass of their aquarium when a bright red male van passed by outside the window. This got Niko thinking just how much of this aggression was triggered by the shape or movement of the male, and how much of it was just a response to the red. To answer this, Niko built multiple fish models and presented them to the males. He made a fairly accurate male outside of the breeding conditions, so no red, an undetailed but mostly stickleback-like shaped model with red, and a completely not stickleback model that also had red. If red was the driver more than details of the fish or movement, then both the red models should get bit more by the subject, while the accurate model would be pretty much left alone. And upon presentation to the subjects, that's pretty much what Niko found. And of course, this was really exciting. In showing this and other behaviors related to instinct, Niko did something unique. He tied behavior to evolution. Before this work, animal behavior was relegated to the American comparative psychologists, who focused almost exclusively on lab animal behavior of rats and pigeons. Evolution was hardly considered, as nearly all behavior was contextualized through learning, which did not fit an adaptionist framework at that time. By showing behavior as adaptive and driven by simple stimulus-response patterns, seemingly independent of learning, Niko established animal behavior as a discipline for biology as well, and modern ethology was born. Deciding he was really on to something, Niko elected to take a significant pay cut and relocate to England in 1949 to take a position at the prestigious Oxford University in order to better spread the science of ethology. Here he continued his research into instinct, including the work he is arguably most famous for, understanding the function of the red patch on the herring gull's beak. Tinbergen's key strengths were his talents for observing wild animals, formulating intriguing research questions, and transforming his hypotheses into elegant, straightforward experiments. As a keen observer of nature, he discovered that gull chicks peck at the red dot, which elicits a feeding response from the gull parents. Just as he had used models in his study of fish, here he used a puppet dummy of a herring gull and systematically tested just about every variation possible of head, beak, and red dot in the presence of gull chicks. His findings were illuminating, as it seemed the red dot was virtually essential to the pecking behavior in gull chicks. In fact, Niko's results even showed that a model with just a beak and no head would get more pecks than a fully assembled gull head, so long as it had that red dot. Given how important red was, Niko wondered if the color was all that was needed. To test this, he invented something that would later be called Tinbergen's needle, which basically just looked like a red pencil with 3 white lines in it. To this, the chicks pecked furiously, which led Niko to further support the concept of supernormal stimuli, the idea that behavioral responses can increase in magnitude beyond what is seen in nature if the behavior eliciting phenotype is artificially enhanced. These findings further highlighted the role of animal behavior in the study of evolution. Of course, Niko was not the only student of animal behavior working in his day. His contemporaries included Carl von Frisch, noted entomologist famous for discovering the bee dance, and the eccentric but brilliant Konrad Lorenz, whose studies of imprinting captivated the world. It was with Lorenz that Niko had the most complex relationship. The two had met in 1936 at an international symposium on instinct. Together they had begun to explore geese behavior. However, some of that research would later be used by Lorenz to justify Nazi policies of eugenics. Furthermore, while it was initially denied, papers surfaced showing Lorenz to have been a member of the Nazi Party, starting in 1938. In 1941, Lorenz was drafted into the Nazi army, and by 1944 he was sent to the front lines in Russia. Just as Niko had, Lorenz became a POW himself, with his release coming after 4 years of captivity. Contrite about his dealings with the Nazis, over time the two found a path to reconciliation. Niko even magnanimously referred to Lorenz as the father of ethology, although most attribute that to a combination of their efforts. In 1973, von Frisch, Lorenz, and Tinbergen were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for their work in the field of animal behavior. In receiving this award just 4 years after Niko's older brother Jan did, the two became, and are still, the only sibling pair of Nobel winners. In his acceptance speech, Niko remarked that he didn't think of himself as a physiologist, but assumed that the decision to award the ethologist the Nobel in this category meant that there was an opportunity for research in behavior to inform medicine. While he and his wife Elizabeth took some steps in that direction, attempting to use behavioral approaches to address autism, later scientists and clinicians would very much incorporate patient behavior into their practices, including concepts such as drives and motivations, which were important both to Tinbergen and Lorenz. In 1988, Niko Tinbergen passed away at the age of 81. He leaves behind an important legacy. Without him, there would be no field of behavioral ecology. Tinbergen's 4 questions remain a pillar in biology, allowing for a framework of analysis at multiple levels. His clever field experiments still inspire scientists to this day. Furthermore, he has left a legacy through his students, which include famous scientists in their own right, like Richard Dawkins, Desmond Morris, Tony Sinclair, and Marion Dawkins. Perhaps Niko's greatest legacy is helping us understand, appreciate, and value our planet and its inhabitants a little bit more. Just what you'd expect from a naturalist.